Thank you very much for coming on to the No Fruit Podcast. Today we have a wonderful guest with over 42 years of experience in teaching and counseling within public schools in Pennsylvania, which y'all know we love. We from Philly, and South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, as well as holding a doctorate in education with a focus on curriculum and instruction. He brings a unique perspective to the table, and with his journey, which has taken him abroad as a Fulbright Memorial Fund scholar to study the educational system in Japan, and he found inspiration for his super student program. And with this program, along with the award-winning Peer Pals initiative, which he co-authored, reflects his deep commitment to improving student achievement and behavior. Now, that's just a tidbit into this young man's life. It's a vast story, but once we come back after this, we'll get into even more. Just hold on for one moment.
Let's talk about love and marriage, the way that God intended. Life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. No Fruit Podcast. Will help your spirit transform.
We have Dr. John Chanaca. Thank you very much for coming on to the show, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it very much.
Sure, no problem. And so, even though we gave a very brief synopsis of your story, but I read this part of your bio because your commitment to student behaviors and things like that, I think contributes to what we want to talk about today, which is the value of family.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's just start because we talked about in the green room how you've been married, going on 55 years, right?
Congratulations.
So what is the importance? What can you share to our listeners the importance of just that word family?
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, Maurice, because it's everything, really.
Mhm.
I mean, it is totally everything. God created the family for a reason.
Yes.
Okay? He knew what he was doing when he had a man and a woman uh, raise children in that crucible, that special environment.
Mhm.
That's where magic happens. And your parents are your first teacher. They're your best teacher, and they are your first teacher.
Yes.
So everything that you are absorbing, growing as a young child, besides your personality and all that kind of thing is unique, to every it's a snowflake, right? It's different for every child, but they pick up those vibes. They picked up your attitude, your tone.
Mm-hmm.
They pick up your character, okay,
Mhm.
which we're going to talk about in the show. Um, and and th- everything about your direction and your talents, whether they're promoted or not, comes from that family crucible, that beautiful organization that
Mhm.
that God created. And as well as I do, marriage is difficult, and it's
Mhm.
also scary right now in the United States, especially over 50% of people are in divorce.
Right.
Wow.
That affects greatly, the family situation and
Mm-hmm.
children. They have to adapt to that, but children are people. They're
Mhm.
they're human beings. They're going to pick up on what you say, what you do, how you do it, how much time you spend with them, whether you're listening to them.
Mhm.
It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
Family is everything, and I'm so glad we're going to talk about it today.
Mhm.
It needs to be celebrated. It needs to be talked. It needs to be protected.
Yes.
Mm.
It needs to be protected, and so do marriages, of course. Yeah.
Mm. It's funny that you say protected, because that's a very key word. What made you use that word though, protected? Because
Good.
that's key.
Good insight, Morris. Good insight, and protected because the world is difficult. When you go out in
Hmm.
your job, when you're outside, when you're dealing with the public, when you're dealing with the government, when you're dealing outside your home, okay?
Hmm.
It's rough.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough, okay? people, even though there's a lot of nice people, basically, you have a dog eat dog kind of a thing. You're tired. You're beating your boss beating you up. Your
Mm-hmm.
public beating you up. And when you come home, family, wife, children, that should be your place of refuge.
Yes.
That should be your protected place. That should be your crucible to rejuvenate, to recharge.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't mean every single minute, because
Right.
while you're in the process of marriage
Hmm.
and while you're in the process of raising children, you're going to have conflict. Okay,
Right.
Yes.
Right.
it's normal. Do you both of you have children?
Yes,
You
we
Yes.
said you've been
do.
married for 25
We're
years.
our
Okay.
children are 23 and 21.
Okay. Well, you're sort of out on the edge there.
Yes,
Right.
we're on the
By the
edge.
way, by the way, let's define this too.
Mhm.
Family is just more than
Hmm.
mother, father, or just sometimes it's mother and the children,
Mhm.
Yes.
father and the children, mother and father with everything, but it's also extended. All
Hmm.
right.
Mhm.
So you've got you've got uncles and aunts, and you've got grandmothers and grandfathers, and
Correct.
so on. So as you expand that thing, I still consider that family. Okay,
Mhm.
Yes.
that's
Mhm.
all part of the community and so on. And you may even
Yes.
have dear friends.
That
I'm
you
Yes.
talking about
consider
real.
family. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean they're part of the family,
Hmm.
Mhm.
but everyone is kind of building on each other, or in some cases ripping each other down.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
one or the other, or a
Right.
combination. And so that's the crucible we're talking about. That's so necessary, and the protectiveness that you're talking about,
Yeah.
that is the haven, that where you have to feel like, I'm going to go back to my family. I'm going to
Mm.
rejuvenate.
Hmm.
I need time to get away from this world and
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
have people love on me and,
Mhm.
you know, build me up, and I need to heal. You need to be healing
Mhm.
in your family.
Yes.
Mm.
So that's a very good insight, Morris, that you're bringing about the protection of the family. But many times it's not like that. We'll
Right.
Yes.
get into we'll get into why. Okay, I'm sure. And
Right.
there are many things you can control. Some things you cannot control,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
there are many things you control. And one of the major things you can control, and we're going to talk about it. Charles Swindoll talks about it.
Hmm.
Great Christian writer. Is your attitude
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
towards your situation.
Hmm.
Okay. And we're going to get into that, because every family doesn't have health every day, no
Right.
Right.
accidents,
Right.
there's no problems.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I mean, Jane and I didn't have that kind of a family. I don't know anybody who does. I've
Right.
talked with thousands of people, but I'm not talking about Pollyanna, Cinderella kind of a thing.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm talking about life. Okay.
Yes.
But
Yes. Yeah.
and I'll get into even some of our situations if you want to, that we went through.
Mhm.
Hmm.
uh, I like the title of your podcast. Okay,
Mhm.
Yes.
No Fruit Podcast. Now I just did a little reading on it, but you can tell me a little bit more about it. Okay, I think you're saying there are times that
Hmm.
you go through your life. Am I right? Where you
Correct.
have no fruit. It
Yes.
seems like, oh golly, is this ever going to end?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
is that the
That's it.
symbolism of your? Okay.
Yes, it is, and that's
Yes.
part of
and
it. Yes.
and I'm so glad you did it, because that's real life.
Hmm.
Okay,
Mhm.
every day is not exciting and bubbling and no problems.
Yeah.
I don't know where you live, or where anyone who lives like that
Mhm.
lives, but it's not, they're not living in Hawaii.
Right.
Right.
Even
Right.
Hawaii,
Has
storms in
issues. Right.
Hawaii.
Yeah. They have
Yeah. So
volcano eruptions and things like that. It's beautiful as it
exactly.
is. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So an excellent name for your podcast. I know
Yes.
your
Thank you.
guests talk about these things. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
So
and so when it comes to the No Fruit podcast, and Kyle, I'll let you
yeah.
answer your question. But when it comes to that, the idea is because of these situations, we don't feel like we're growing or flourishing or whatever it is, and so
Yes.
sometimes we don't take that idea that we're still um, matriculating through this process called life.
Yes.
Every situation that we have builds upon the next or the last. So we're always evolving, we're always growing, and we should take every situation as a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
To
Excellent.
help us through something else. Because even though it might not be for our benefit, but it might be for the person right next
Next
to
to us.
us.
Hmm.
Excellent.
Hmm.
Excellent. and that's life. And the Bible talks about these things over and
Yes.
over, where the Lord says take one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Mhm.
go. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have goals or plans, but live each single moment like we're having right now.
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
we're having a moment.
Mhm.
But every single moment you should be living to the fullest. And then another thing that he says that goes along with it is that there's periods of time in your life that you need to be still
Mm-hmm.
and just listen to God. Okay,
Mhm.
that those quiet times or those no fruit times
Mm-hmm.
um, are growth times because God's timing in your life is specific.
Yes.
It's always right on.
Mhm.
If you look in the Bible, that the timing that the Lord had for Christ and various things to happen, they were always right on. Jesus
Mhm.
was to come into Jerusalem on that donkey, at that
At
time,
that
that
time,
that
yeah.
single day, okay,
Mhm.
was what, and so it is with our life. Doesn't matter if you live 5 years, 10 years, a
Mm-hmm.
100 years, whatever it is. Your life has a plan and a purpose,
Right.
Mhm.
okay? And if you're aware always that God is guiding your life during those quiet times, the no fruit times,
Mhm.
preparing you, or like Maurice said, preparing others
Mm-hmm.
to
Mhm.
come into your life, okay?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because we don't live in a bubble.
Right.
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 We have we talked about family and friends and community and other people, but there's people you're supposed to meet
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
at work, on the
Mhm.
street,
Yes.
in your home. There's certain things you need to say to people at certain times in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Maybe no fruit in your life, but all of a sudden you say the right thing to this person who's going through a crisis. So this whole idea of timing
Yeah.
Mhm.
and silent and no fruit is all part of God's plan
It is.
also.
It
Okay.
is.
Mhm.
It is. So my
So
question for you was, a little while back, you talked about control and having
yeah.
control over things. And, in today's world in the news, we don't have a control over a lot of things.
Right.
And, whether it's the education system,
Mhm.
what are our kids being taught in school,
Yes.
whether, things are going to be funded the next year, there's a lot of things we don't have control over. So, and when it comes to the family, how do we partner with others so that we can continue to have some control? Like, so for in our situation, we partnered a lot with the school district and our teachers so that we had a little bit more control over what our kids were being taught and how they were being taught. So, can you
Good.
tell us a little bit about that and how that would help our audience?
Yeah. Okay. We we have control. We all, as a family situation, of course, you make decisions. Okay. And in that context, we have control. God actually has
Mm-hmm.
complete control.
Mhm.
Okay. But
Mhm.
yes, we make decisions. I guess I'm saying too is that we have control over our attitude. That's the biggest thing
Mhm.
that I mentioned with Charles Swindoll. I'm going to
Yeah.
Mhm.
read a little section here
Sure.
that I have a quote in one of our books. We have a whole series, by the way, of parenting books.
Great.
This is part one. Look at guys hanging onto the pole. So that it's a little bit like life. Okay, he's
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
going through that. Part two is here comes a tsunami, and the guy's got an umbrella.
Mm.
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
think that's going to help very much. And then she's walking into a tornado. Okay,
Wow.
a mother. She's leaving home. But
Mm.
in part one, we kind of introduce it. And this was a survival guide to parents, part one. Here's what Charles Swindoll says, and this might help answer your
Mm-hmm.
question as you were talking about it. He says, the longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It's more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people say or do. It is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make
Mhm.
or break a company, a church, a home.
Mm-hmm.
The remarkable thing is we have a choice.
Mhm.
There's that word choice
Mhm.
every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way.
Mhm.
We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to
Correct.
it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. Now, Charles Swindoll knows a lot about life, okay? Wrote
Hmm.
many, many books, is a wonderful Christian teacher. To get back to your question, you do make choices about your situations,
Hmm.
okay? So concerning the school, you mentioned the school, okay? So you have children in school and you have a problem, a situation, might be the teacher. I don't know. Let's suppose it's the teacher. Well, obviously, you're going to go in and speak with the teacher
Hmm.
about the situation, whatever it might be. So you need to be polite, respectful, and so on. You listen to what you get a feeling for that teacher, what kind of personality they have, their interest and everything else. If you see you can work with the teacher, if
Right.
it's looks like it's going to be able to be workable,
Hmm.
good. You work with her. But one thing you don't do is in front of your children, you don't talk
Hmm.
down
Correct.
about the teacher. Oh, that rotten teacher. She's terrible. I can't stand because you're giving power to the child then to
Hmm.
misbehave and
Yeah.
continue to do whatever they're doing,
Hmm.
that agitates the teacher. I don't know. That is just between you and the teacher, your
Hmm.
Correct.
husband and wife would be okay. Now, if you find out you cannot work with the teacher, get another teacher. Okay.
That's it.
Get it. I mean, that's boldness. Okay. You need to
Yeah.
be bold. You need
Right.
to be
Yes.
upfront. You need to be proactive.
Hmm.
Hmm.
This is your child.
Right. This is your family.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's your family. It's your child. Of course. You speak for them. Absolutely. Respectfully but you know when someone is a liar. You know when
Hmm.
someone is just blowing you off and someone
Hmm.
is okay. If you kind of feel that, you go to the principal and say, look, we need to change. Can't
Hmm.
Right.
work here.
Hmm.
So I know you've got 4 fifth grades, and I want my child moved to another
Another
classroom.
class. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe
Right.
you've done some homework and you know that Mrs. Jones is the best one out of that group. You ask for
Hmm.
Mrs. Jones.
Hmm.
Exactly.
But you get my point?
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
listen to this. Okay. You find out none of the teachers are good.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
get another school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see what I'm trying to say?
Hmm.
Is that you can keep working. You make these choices. You have a good attitude, positive, everything else. But yeah, study it. You
Yeah.
know, y- our children, we knew the teachers, the principal, the this, the that, and so we work within that crucible, work within that situation,
Hmm.
but also we're working at home with the kids,
Yes.
and you're letting the kids know not everybody is a good teacher.
Hmm.
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 Okay, sometimes you're going to meet people you don't like
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
and you're going to still take their class. I mean, in college or tech
Hmm.
school or university or whatever, you may
Hmm.
not even like your boss, but you got
Right.
to
Right.
stay there a
You got to
while
stay there a while. Yeah.
until you make a choice to move to a better
Hmm.
job.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's that choice thing and working along with it as you go. Okay,
Yeah.
Hmm.
so I don't know if that helps a little
Yeah.
bit, but
Yeah.
It does. I mean,
as
and
a
I'm gonna tell you, Dr. John, like it's you said a whole bunch of different things, right? Because now I'm reflecting back.
Yes.
Because
okay,
my one as a parent, I'm gonna give you the outcome for me. Second grade, my kids were in school, and I won a Parent of the Year award. Right? They wrote up, they made up an award for me
good,
because I was one of the fathers that was very active. I was around
good,
all the time.
good.
But I think, but the reality was, it was the fact that I paid attention.
Hmm.
It wasn't about me. I was paying attention more to to the child. And I was not, and I was also understanding that no, this teacher has 20 some odd other students in the
Hmm.
class. So all I'm here to do is really to support you as the teacher that's providing this 8 hours a day to my child.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though
Right.
yes, I'm going to work every day and all that stuff, but we're in tandem. We're working
Right. Working
together.
together.
It's
Yes.
it's teamwork.
Hmm.
So and sometimes I think as parents, like I said, I could just remember some situations where I had to truly pay attention to my child and know my child and not be so self-absorbed of my own self and expect for you, the teacher, to parent my child, to raise my child.
No.
So I think there's some times where we don't look in the mirror enough. We don't have we don't have the aptitude to do that. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm so glad you're saying it because that's exactly what we're trying to do in this fourth book on parenting called Power Parenting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what we found out was that now this is kind of interesting. You had mentioned a couple of things I did, like go to Japan and so on,
Mm-hmm.
and study there, and do the super student program, Peer Pals program. And during that time, what I found out that there were 8 things that children do to make themselves successful students.
Mm-hmm.
There's 8 things. Just you could probably think of some,
Mm-hmm.
but I can read some of them. Or do you want to guess? What do you think a child has to do in class to become a great student? What are some things they demonstrate or do or skills they use that shows they're great? Can
Active
you?
listening.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You can think of anything else?
Participation and
Yes.
yes.
Um, Teamwork, because
Yes.
you have to work with the teacher and
Okay.
your student. I mean,
Yeah.
your
See, no,
classmates.
I just quickly put that question on you. Bam,
Right.
you got 3 of them more. Research proves these 8 things. Okay, I will listen. Number one, I will listen, obey, and trust my teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they found out all good students, excellent students, so that's what they do. They listen, obey, and trust their teacher. And isn't it funny? One of the commandments, the first, I will listen,
Mm-hmm.
obey, and trust my God.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's kind of interesting. I will raise my hand to speak in a group. Now we're talking
Right.
about classroom. I
Mm-hmm.
will shows respect when you
Mm-hmm.
do it. They don't call out.
Mm-hmm.
Go like this. You wait your turn. Okay. Other people see your hand up. They go, oh, gee. I will think along with the speaker. With the
Mm.
teacher speaking, I'm thinking along, just like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
listening. Okay. And if another kid answers a question, you're thinking along, gee, Bobby answered that question. Yeah, I never thought of that. It kind of goes through
Thinking
your head.
along. Yeah.
Right.
I will be prepared for my work.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I will give my best. I will finish all my work.
Mm-hmm.
I will work out problems with others.
Yes. The teamwork.
And last one, I will have a positive, healthy attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
They found out that all great students, I'm not talking about A students, I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about kids that are great students,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
okay? The teachers love them.
Mm-hmm.
The, you know, they learn more.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They enjoy learning. They do these 8 things. Okay. Research
Wonderful.
proves it and so on. We also found out that the best way to teach these things is in a home setting by developing character traits. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because every one of these things talk about character traits,
Yes.
that you're honest, respectful, loving, kind, uh, you participate, you're
Mm-hmm.
helpful, you see their character. And
Mm-hmm.
Sounds
guess
like
where
the sounds like the fruits of the Bible. There, it's fruits of the
That's
spirit.
exactly right. And guess where you learn those traits? Guess where you learn those traits? At home
At
by
home.
Mm-hmm.
watching your parents.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So God gives us 3 times, if you're lucky, to grow up. 3 times. One, when you are a child, you're growing up. Now, you don't have any control over your mother and father,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
who they are. You
Mm-hmm.
didn't pick them, but you can see them acting and so on. And you can say, is this right?
Mm-hmm.
Daddy just lied to mommy.
Mm.
So that's one time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The second time is when you are raising your own children.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Which was my father's situation. He had a terrible life. Terrible. I mean, his mother died early. He was tossed around. His uncle finally got him into crime
Mm.
when he was like 12 years old. He was
Mm.
bootlegging. He
Wow.
was the uncle was killing people and
Oh
doing all
wow.
kind. It was terrible. And I asked him once. I said when he changed, he accepted Christ right before I was born.
Mm.
And I asked him, Dad. Later on, I asked him why. For such a terrible life, how did you change? He said, I just did, John, what wasn't done to me.
Yes.
That's what I did for you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So that the second time is when you're raising your child, and the third time is if you're lucky, you're a grandparent,
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
and you learn from your grandchildren. You talk to your grandchildren. So if you're telling your children not to lie, and they hear you on the phone
Mm-hmm.
lying to your boss,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
and they're saying, "Gee, mom and dad don't want me to lie,"
Right.
And I just heard him tell his
Right.
boss a lie.
Right.
See, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So those traits that make you a great student are seen in the character development that happens in that crucible we call family and home.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm trying to say is you can, by raising your child to be nurturing and to be a wonderful student, you
Mm-hmm.
actually can improve your own character as a parent
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
by demonstrating these things.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's a challenge, but boy, you want to grow as a person,
Mm-hmm.
get a kid, okay? Have a child.
Most
Oh, goodness.
definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Dr. John, I mean, we really truly appreciate you
Oh,
coming
yes.
on.
Yeah.
There, like when I read your bio, exactly how the conversation had gone, your deep commitment to improving student achievement and behavior. We've spoken about the whole process of how we can really truly affect our kids,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
our parenting, but ultimately this affects our community and how our community as a whole will become better.
Yes.
So I
Right.
truly appreciate you coming on
Mm-hmm.
and sharing that today. I think this has been very powerful and impactful.
Very fruitful.
Very fruitful. And so, but Dr. John, I would like for you to share with us, how can people find these books? How
Right.
can they talk to you directly? And
Mm-hmm.
then if you're willing to consult people on how to, start schools and things like that, just
Right.
throwing it out there.
Well, thank you so much. By the way, all your listeners, okay, that want to, we're going to send this to you, okay? I'll have a link, and then in your show notes and so on, they'll be able to click on the link and have this book free, okay? We'll have it
Hmm.
in two different styles. It'll be in ebook style and also a flip book, which is kind of
Mm,
neat because you click on it and it just keeps flipping and
Yes.
opening up, and you can read it like that too. So
nice.
it's free for your listeners. Okay, it's part 3 of our series, and again, this will be coming out in the summer, maybe late summer. Power parenting, which would be a combination of part 1, 2, and 3 of that survival guide,
Hmm.
Yes.
and also it's going to become a course. Okay,
Wonderful.
so you might want to just let your listeners know that. This is going to turn into a course. It'll have modules and so on.
Mm,
And I'm going to have the book and the course together. It'll be
nice.
together, kind of a thing. But they
Nice.
can find us at www.mjchanaca, that's MJCHANACA, publishing, publishing.com.
Hmm.
Okay. And that's our website.
Yes.
All our books, which are parenting books and children's books, by the way, we have 12 children's books. They're sort of like this.
Mhm.
Yes.
And you talked about values. What we did was we decided we would do books on our grandchildren
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
and our children. And they all teach ethical and moral values.
Yes.
mhm,
And they also became a legacy. In other words, our children can
mm,
pick up these books and our grandchildren say, oh, there's mom and dad, there's grandma, and so on.
Yes.
And
mm.
different situations our children went into. Here's one of the greatest counselors, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
that I ever met. She was the janitor at our school.
Yeah. But she was a counselor. She knew how to.
Miss
Yes.
Miss Ruby. She was wonderful, and I just had to catch a book with her working with our
Mm,
granddaughter. And then so every one of these books, like those are our 2 kids right there with the dog. They all teach moral and ethical values. They're wholesome and beautifully illustrated.
Wonderful.
So they can pick them up also on our
mhm.
website. But thank you for letting me be able to announce that and to
Yes.
share it.
Sure.
Sure.
No
All of that
problem.
information, like we said, will definitely be in our show notes.
Mhm.
So everyone who's listening, no matter what you're doing, you'll be able to certainly check in and see
Mhm.
all of that information about Dr. John, about all of the wonderful books that he has, whether they're children's books or parenting books, that
Mhm.
will be available to you in the show notes. You can just click on it and gain more information.
Mhm. But Dr.
Great.
John, we do have one more question for you
Yeah.
before we go though.
Yeah, one more
Sure.
question. You shared so much during this podcast about education and how important that is, about family and how important that is, and how the world's trying to, kind of strip it away from us.
Yes.
And my one last question to you, because we have to kind of work together, in all of this in order to be successful and have successful families and successful education. But with working together, Dr. John, if you could work together with someone in a duet, anyone in the world, sing a duet, living or deceased, who would you sing that duet with?
I guess this would be someone that I would admire. Now, of course, my wife first, right?
Of course, your wife,
I'm gonna
yes.
say that.
Of course, you have to say
55
Jane
years.
first, of course.
Yeah. By the way, Jane is the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yes.
I'm serious. But
I
yeah,
can
it
say
would
the
be
same.
Jane first.
Mhm.
I'd love to. I'd love to sing it with Jesus. To tell you
Yeah,
the truth,
yeah, there you
Mm.
I
go.
tell you, I just can't imagine just
Mm.
what it would have been like to see him heal the sick
Wow, yes.
and speak to people and love on children and just be around him. But I'm sure I would have been just like the disciples, and that is, what in the world is going
Wow.
on?
Yes.
What? Who is
Mind
this
blown, yes,
person?
yes, yes.
But yeah, I guess that would sum it up.
Good.
There's so many people in my life that have influenced me, and I just want to give a shout out to that. Okay,
Yes.
is that you cannot is you can't grow by yourself. You
Right.
need other people.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, you've got to have other
Mhm,
people,
mhm.
and they're out there.
Yes.
Mhm.
Could be family, friends, different people who love on you and care, but they're out there, and there's people who want to help you
Yes.
Mhm.
and have you grow. Have you seen the movie called The Forge?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, we did.
Well,
Yes.
do you see what I'm saying?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Yep.
was
Okay,
beautiful.
that's
Yeah.
a powerful movie. You
Mhm.
see how that man reached out to that young boy
Mhm.
Mhm.
and how he loved on him and just
Took him
nurtured
in.
him
Yeah, yeah.
and see what happened in
Yeah.
his life. So yeah, we've got to have others. And thank you
Mhm.
so much for the good things you both are doing
Thank you.
on this
We appreciate
podcast.
that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We
Thank you for
appreciate
all
it.
that you're doing, and thank you for
Yeah.
coming on the show to share all the great things that you have. And again, I hope that our listening audience takes advantage
Mhm.
of all of these great tools and techniques that you have shared with us today.
Mhm.
Appreciate it
No
so
problem.
much.
Thank you. And of course, thank you for listening to the No Fruit Podcast. And we will talk to you just a little later.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. We hope today's discussion left you feeling uplifted, encouraged, and ready to take on life's journey with purpose. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. You can catch up on past episodes, send us your thoughts, or learn more about us on social media. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow. Take care, and we'll see you next time.